Hi, I'm going to show you a very quick guide on how to use my own After Effects script. It's Carousel Pro, a script that creates a 3D carousel in After Effects, literally in just 2 clicks. For it to work, you first need to install the script itself, meaning you need to add it to After Effects. This is very easy to do. First, you need to open the directory where your After Effects is installed. This is where we drop our Carousel Pro script. For it to work properly, we also need to make sure that one specific checkbox is enabled. It is located in Edit, Preferences, and under the Scripting and Expressions settings. It is required that this checkbox is turned on. Leave it enabled, and then we need to open our panel to start creating our carousel. To do this, we go to Window, and at the bottom, we can already see our added script, Carousel Pro, which can be opened like this. If it opens like this as a floating window, just drag it by the title and place it wherever it's convenient for you. Left, right, anywhere. This is what it looks like. You can make it more compact. This is very useful if you need more workspace. I'll place it here. What does it consist of? It consists of a field containing all the elements that can be added or reduced in quantity. Next, you choose which variation of the carousel itself you want. It's hexagon, cylinder, or linear. Each of them has either a horizontal or a vertical version. That means you choose between modifications and variations. And then, once you have added all the elements, chosen the modification and variation, you click Create Carousel, and it is generated. I have already prepared a certain number of elements. These can be both photos and compositions. It doesn't matter. You simply add the elements that will later form the 3D carousel to your composition. Make sure to select them and then click Add Selection. This means they appear here. This is the list of all the elements that will create the 3D carousel. Using the hexagon as an example, we will create a horizontal version and click Create Carousel. And very quickly, this kind of cool carousel is created. For now, without animation. But on the timeline, we can see the creation of a camera, a customized layer that holds the main parameters that will later change our carousel's look, and auxiliary start and end layers. All the participating elements are created between them. In order to change the position of each object, if you want to shuffle them in a certain way, or swap, for example, this cap and these pants. So I see these are the 5th and 6th elements. We just drag them to swap places, and it changes very easily. Meaning, I want to replace this one and this one. Long story short, you can change their positions very easily this way. We have the layer itself that contains the control settings, and it also acts as our null object, which can basically be moved to link it in 3D space or parent it to a specific object so it can be used for certain animations. It can also be used for position as well as rotation. Now let's get to creating and tweaking this carousel. We have the first parameter, radius, which changes the distance between elements. There is a scale option, which scales the entire carousel up or down in space. Positions in 3 coordinates, X, Y, and Z. That means you can set any distance you want. The magic button, automatic animation. If you turn it on, an automatic animation will be generated until the end of the composition. It will constantly create a linear rotation around the center. If you want to increase or decrease the rotation speed, there is a speed animation setting. So if we increase it, the animation will be faster. If you want to change the direction of the rotation, you just need to change it from plus to minus, and it will rotate the other way. Very convenient and easy. So you set the required speed, and it's already working. You don't even need to animate other elements, points, graphs, and so on. Everything is already done. Now let's go over the rotation. Why is the carousel called hexagon specifically? Because it consists of our flat elements. They do not bend along the radius, but simply occupy a certain distance relative to this position. This way, it creates a pseudo-cylinder. Now I'll show you how to reduce the quantity. For example, I want it to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Everything else, for instance, all these elements, I don't need them. I select them and click Remove. This way, I only have 5 elements left, and for this animation to remain, and all the settings I made to be preserved while the quantity is reduced, I just need to click Create. It acts like an update, and it kept the camera, kept the automatic animation with our speed, and so on. It conditionally resembles a hexagon, which is exactly why I named this modification that way. If you want to add a certain amount again, you just need to either select the elements you want to add in this manner. For example, I don't want this first one to be added here. I selected it, clicked Add, and updated it. Everything is done automatically, adjusted, and the animation remains, so everything works. Among the parameters, we have opacity left, which controls the transparency of the entire carousel. And there is a very interesting look that makes all the elements face the camera. And now we have this kind of cool animation. Automatic. It looks really dope. If you want to make it with a larger radius, you expand it a bit, and your products, services, or anything else are automatically displayed in the best possible way. Very fast, elementary, and without unnecessary actions. And how to change them, you've already figured it out. Just drag and drop, and everything updates automatically. Let's move on. The vertical version. If we switch from one version to another, all our settings reset to factory defaults. That means everything updates by default. Everything else is created from scratch. So, if we want to increase or decrease it, we can also set it up. Now I'll show you a certain angle so you can understand. This is what it looks like. The vertical version doesn't differ in settings from the horizontal one at all, except for the angle at which it is positioned. Moving on to the cylinder version. It creates a real cylinder with maximum rounding. What's the difference? While in the hexagon and linear versions, our elements are directly used and turned on. Here, all elements are turned off, but they are all added to a separate composition. If you want to change any elements or swap their places, we just drag them at a certain moment, and the whole composition is already set up in a way that allows you to change them very easily. Since all the photos or elements are inside a pre-compose, for it to scale up or down, depending on the number of photos or the distance between these elements, we need to constantly update it. Therefore, if you create a certain distance between photos, for instance, I made it 100 pixels between photos, they won't be displayed in real time here. You just need to run an update, and that's it. Scale works the exact same way as before. Radius looks more like a deformation of the 3D carousel and works best at 100%. This will provide the correct display of the photos you put in. From here on, everything is clear. You can adjust the positions here. You can use the layer for settings as a null object. It works too, meaning you can create rotation both here and you can create rotation here in this manner. So you can do it both here and here additionally. The already familiar automatic animation, which creates rotation in one direction or the other, depending on the sign. Light is more about how the material will be displayed. That means if we increase the intensity, certain objects will be highlighted more or less and will glow with a specific color. I'll show you now. So we can set this up. I'll make it red now, a more saturated one, and play around with rotation. Now you can see how they reflect light under different angles, so that only these elements are lit up, for example, and these ones are not. You can create complex elements like this to make it look very cool. You can see that we have two compositions created. Why not one? One could have been created, but I specifically made two. What for? Because I want them to have two sides. The first side, which is the front, and the back part, which we also have. What is this for? This way we can place a specific object that you want. For example, like this one. Now the entire carousel will rotate around this object. This is very cool. And here you can already create, well, very cool animations that you want to make. You can put yourself there and place your works or the services you provide around you, and it will make a very cool story for TikTok or Instagram. So use it depending on your tasks. The vertical version is identical. Nothing changes except for the position. Created a carousel like this. Tweaked it for yourself in a manner like this. This will be the animation, for example. Let's look at the third modification. In my opinion, it's the most interesting one. We select our photos. They are already selected for us. We choose the linear version, the horizontal one, and click Create. It generates it. All the elements that are between these fields will be used. We see that an additional layer has been created. It's the reaction zone. That's what I named it. What does it do, and why was it created in the first place? But first, about the main settings. We have the usual size between elements. We already know that. Let's make it a small one like this. There is scale, which we can set up. Let's leave it like this for now. Classic standard animation. Rotation works a bit differently. You can make the same rotations and position this carousel at a certain tilt if you want. Like this, for example. And now the animation looks like this. A new setting has been added, called Reaction Zone. If we turn it on, this green dashed zone appears, inside of which something is going to happen. And now we will show exactly what affects it. And how. We have many parameters, and we will gradually go through all of them. The first item is focal point. This is the place where certain changes will occur. Right now, it's 50%, which is the center of the composition we are making. If we change it to 0, It will move one way or the other, depending on the created composition, specifically from the first point to the second point of the elements themselves. Meaning, if the elements were somewhere over on that side, it might move a little bit behind our composition, but you will still understand where it is located. So we will do it in such a way that inside, right here, this is its size. That means we will set how much it will affect the elements, either only those located here, or capturing a large number of elements and making the animation smoother. These are the settings that will directly influence things inside this zone. For example, position, meaning we will set it up so that our cards lift up along the y-axis and come a little bit towards us along the z-axis, so they become even closer to the camera along the z-axis. This way, we can create completely different animations that we want to achieve. Besides rotation and position, we can adjust scale so that it gets bigger or smaller, and opacity. It can also make transparency higher or lower, for example, so that there is none in this zone at all, or vice versa. If we set it to 100 here and make it lower at the beginning, we will have semi-transparent elements, but inside they will be bright like this. Here is such a cool animation that you can change in any specific part of the screen where you want. Depending on your tasks, you adjust this carousel in a way that makes it look as cool as possible, specifically for your needs. The vertical version doesn't differ much from the previous one in terms of settings. In literally just a few clicks, you can create and animate your photos or videos. The script itself works on all language versions of After Effects. It runs on both Windows and Mac. I hope that this script will be useful to you, and you'll find where to apply it in the coolest way possible. Thank you for supporting me and purchasing it.